Simou, and I'm a researcher at the Institute of Local Government Law at the Autonomous University of Madrid. This speech is framed into UDITE's excellent initiative denominated Sharing Knowledge, of which I'm very proud to be part. When I was given the topic, Urban Environment, Local Governments in Europe, and I was told that I would only have 10 minutes to expose my points of view, my first reaction was, okay, 10 minutes are not nearly enough to enumerate some of the environmental problems that citizens suffer in modern European cities. Air, light, odor, and light pollution, supply and quality of potable water, contaminated soils, unsustainable land use, the consequences of human-induced climate change, waste generation and management, electromagnetic radiation, and the list goes on. Then it occurred to me that what I may have time to do is give an empirical example deducted from my own personal experience in order to illustrate how the quality of life can change depending on the place of residence, the available financial resources, the legal and political framework, and the social education. I have been living in Madrid, Spain, the city to which I will today refer for emphatic purposes as the grey city, not meaning that Madrid is not a wonderful city to live in, for the past 5 years. Last year, I happened to live in Freiburg, Germany, which is considered one of the green capital cities of Europe. The planning model in the Autonomous Community of Madrid is characterized by its extensive urbanization and a high level of urban sprawl, due principally to the lack of affordable housing in the city of Madrid. Just like more than 4 million people that live outside the city of Madrid, I have to daily drive 70 kilometers in order to get to my work, or 50 kilometers just to watch a movie at the cinema. The situation in Freiburg was the exact opposite. I used to ride my bicycle at least 20 minutes in order to get to my work, or take the train and be in the city center in 20 minutes. Another difference that really affected my everyday life was that in Madrid, and it still is, that in Madrid, recycling is not obligatory. In some places, there is no public infrastructure to enable citizens to recycle, although they want to. In Freiburg, recycling is mandatory, and citizens take that really seriously. If a citizen of Freiburg notices that you haven't shifted through your litter properly, or that you are disposing of it in a wrong bin, is capable of reporting you to the closest authority. As regards solar energy, in Freiburg it is a reality, and in Madrid it's unfortunately still an example of good practice. Of course, I totally understand that a huge urban metropolis like Madrid is not comparable to a small city like Freiburg, though the philosophy can be very similar. In this example, in Madrid and in Freiburg, the offer of public services and the urban designs have their roots in a total different philosophy. That's why I think maybe environmental problems arise more intensively in the city of Madrid rather than in the green city of Freiburg. Within this small example, 4 conclusions are ready to be drawn. In the first place, although urban environment is too wide and abstract a concept to analyze in such a brief period of time, it is the best example of translating values into policy and law at a local level. 4 out of 5 citizens in Europe live in urban areas. Our quality of life and health depends directly on the quality of our urban environment. Cities are where many environmental problems are concentrated and where political and sociological conflicts are addressed more intensively. Therefore, urban environment's nature can be sociological, political, economical, as well as geographical, legal, or even biological. Its analysis will therefore depend from the parameters taken into account in every study. What I will briefly intend here to do is expose its distinctive political, sociological, and legal elements from a local government perspective. Secondly, urban environment needs an urban environmental mentality, a change of paradigm reflected in all adequate local government instruments, process, planning, management, and policy instruments. It is widely accepted that the most successful green cities in Europe, in consonance with the environmental principle of integration, are these that use combined approaches to manage their environmental problems. Many green cities have put into place environmental management systems such as EMAS or ISO 14001 in order to assure the fulfillment of their policy objectives and in order to provide public scrutiny on the progress. They proceed to adopt long-term strategic action plans in which links between the obligations and the policies between different administrative levels are made. This not only achieves better planning, but it avoids conflicts between the initiatives and policies at different administrative levels that, in opposite circumstances, would lead administrative levels to seek legal solutions ex post that would result in the application of abstract legal concepts and principles. Precise delimited objectives, targets, accepted responsibilities, audit, public consultation, report, control are decisive for effective implementation of the measures. An integrated environmental management plan as a local Agenda 21 has been adopted by the city of Copenhagen under Danish law. Together with other instruments and other strategies in a lot of sectors like waste, traffic, CO2 risks, and Copenhagen's own environmental management system from the integrated approach of the city of Copenhagen to the environmental problems. In addition to the voluntary initiatives, Local Agenda 21 and Albert commitments, several member states have adopted or enforced legislation or other mechanisms in order to require integrated management of the urban environment. Belgium, Denmark, Poland, Hungary, France, etc. Thirdly, despite the Europeanization of environmental law, legislation on environmental impact assessment, strategic assessment of public plans, vehicle standards, integrated pollution control, permits, EMAS, etc., are characterized by an enormous variety depending on financial resources, the legal framework, and political and social sensitization. Environmental European law is a law of minimums. Optimization of these minimums, broadening the legal spectrum or interpreting in a wide form their contents, is more of a local government issue. Likewise, so is the fulfillment or failure in the transposition of these minimums or the possible political resistance. In the fourth place, in line with the sixth environmental action program and the examples provided above, the need to undertake actions in 4 priority themes has been stressed. Urban planning and efficient construction as the nuclear power to achieve long-term sustainability, sustainable transport, proper management of waste, and investments in renewable energies. Compact vertical mixed-use cities and sustainable construction improve energy efficiency and decrease CO2 emissions. Local governments should promote this kind of methods for their own buildings through the Commission of Green Public Procurement. In this context, rehabilitation of the existing buildings is also of great significance. Urban transport has a direct impact on air pollution, CO2 emissions, noise, congestion, etc. The adoption and implementation of sustainable urban transport plans is obligatory under the passing of adequate legislation in some member states, such as the UK or France, or as a mechanism to consider it in other member states, such as Cyprus, Czech Republic, and Italy. Freiburg, the green city of our example, has achieved in the past 30 years to encourage more walking, more bicycling, and the use of public transport. In the last 30 years, bicycle trips have tripled and the use of public transport has doubled. This led to a considerable reduction in CO2 emissions despite the economic growth of the city. In the same context, the Sustainable Urban Transport Plan of the conurbation, 24 municipalities of Nantes, is also to be underlined. The methods and know-how, in accordance to the principle of best available techniques in these crucial for the urban environment sectors, are with a modern technological development at a very elevated level. Thus, the principal obstacle to the implementation of policies and the adoption of legislation is not the lack of scientific knowledge in the matter. A generalized denial arises from the fact that environmental problems are particularly complex and their causes are interrelated. Local initiatives to resolve one problem in one sector may lead to problems in other sectors and may conflict with policies at a regional or national level. For example, policies to improve air quality through the purchase of clean buses may be undermined by private transport growth promoted by land use decisions. For example, the construction of big city parking centers. As observed, the change of example in these sectors in order to achieve sustainable development is more of a political decision to give priority to some environmental values. This political decision needs then to be crystallized in a formal legislative act in order to gain legitimacy on the one hand and on the other hand to provide legal security. In a crisis such as the one that we are facing today, pursuing a policy funded principally on environmental values is highly unlikely. Financial means and interests are equally important. Sustainable urban measures offer a possibility and an opportunity to escape from the actual financial crisis and create new areas of interest for investors. To finish up, it is safe to say that we are all pretty much aware of which the environmental problems are, quite simply because we are their primary causes as well as the first victims to suffer the consequences. When we accept that we are part of the problem, it follows to say that we are also a part of the solution. Citizens form cities, and cities have their own organized response capacity integrated into public structures. States, in collaboration with local governments, must offer the citizens support in the form of ecological education, resources, incentives, and appropriate procedures in order to achieve a thorough implementation of the know-how for the sake for our urban environmental improvement. Local governments are the closest public power to the citizens. As cities, political and administrative leaders, they are the first involved in a bottom-up distribution of action and responsibility. Moreover, application of the subsidiarity principle at the European level mandates that action should be taken at the most effective level, and that directly implies action at the local level. Effective local governments make cities more competitive, more efficient, more functional, and of course more attractive for workers and investors. However, the diversity in terms of climate, geography, legal and political situation or conditions appeals for locally developed solutions. Therefore, local governments must be in the institutional and legal position to design their own strategic action plans and adopt their own legislation, assure the financial means to do so, and be factually prepared to face the effects that urban environmental problems might cause. It is the obligation of every citizen and every public structure to assure the quality of our urban environment and to contribute to the fulfillment of the renewed Lisbon strategy to make Europe a more attractive place to work and to invest. Thank you very much for the attention.